In this video, I'm going to show you the best keybinds and settings to use in Valorant that most pro players are currently using, and this is going to give you the best chance at winning your games and helping you progress in your Valorant journey. So let's jump straight into it, and the first thing you want to do is launch up the Valorant game and head to the settings tab by pressing the escape key on your keyboard, and then we want to come over to the controls tab, and the first thing you'll see at the top is this abilities section, which we can leave alone unless you did want to bind any of these abilities to the mouse buttons, as most modern gaming mouses now contain buttons on the side, but it's really down to personal preference if you prefer having your abilities set to the mouse button. We can then find all of the movement settings, and again we don't really need to change these too much, as the majority of top players all use the same default settings, especially with the movement keys W, S, A, D, as these have all been tried and tested. You do however want to change the jump key from the space bar to the mouse wheel down key, as this is going to be much more efficient when bunny hopping, or we could even double bind this so we have both the space bar and the mouse wheel down. The rest of the settings we can leave, but most of the top players prefer to have toggle crouch set to on, but again this comes down to personal preference. Then let's come inside of the equipment tab. So fire and alternate fire, these can be left as the left and right mouse buttons. Toggle zoom level, you want to keep this set to nothing. For the aim down sights on the sniper rifle and the regular aim down sights, if you want to play like the professionals, you want to set this to hold. The operator zoom we want to keep to cycle, and the reload key we can just keep with R. All of these equip weapon buttons, most players just like to keep these as the default 1, 2, 3 and 4. However, some professional players like to equip the secondary weapon as the mouse wheel up. This just comes down to personal preference, but I like to keep mine as mouse wheel up. For cycle to next weapon, we want to keep this unbinded, and cycle to previous weapon we also want to keep unbinded, because if you add this to your mouse wheel, it's easy to cycle too far and to switch to the incorrect weapon, which is why it's better to keep the equipped weapons set to specific numbers on the keyboard. Drop equipped item, you can just leave it letter G, but this comes down to personal preference. Then these are all left at default, and if we come down to inspect weapon, this should be set to Y, and use object should be set to F, and we can leave the rest of the stuff in this menu as default. And then you want to come over to the crosshair tab at the top and come into the primary section. Inside of here we want to change the crosshair color to cyan. Most top players find that this is the easiest color to basically see on the screen, but you can change this if there is a color you would rather. Outlines we want to set to off, and we want to make sure center dot is set to off for the best results. Then let's scroll down to the inner lines, and you want these turned on, and we want to set these numbers to 1, number 6, number 2 and number 2, as this is going to give you the best visuals. Movement error we can switch off, then come down to outer lines and you want to turn this off. Next we can come into the general tab at the top, and there are a few settings we need to change in here. For example, mouse sensitivity. This is down to personal preference, but the average pro player has the sensitivity to around 0.33 with a scoped and ADS sensitivity of 1, but play around with this and find what works best for you. Invert mouse and raw input buffer can both be switched off. And then if we come down to the minimap, you basically just want to play around with these settings to make sure the minimap isn't zoomed in too far, and you should be able to see the entire map no matter where you're standing. Keep players centered is important to switch off, and that's all of the settings we need to change in here. So let's now come to the video tab. So for the best FPS settings, you want the display mode set to full screen. Set your resolution side to your native monitor screen size. Limit FPS on battery, switch this off. The NVIDIA Reflex low latency we want to keep to on if you have this setting available. This will only be available for those with a NVIDIA graphics card. Then come over to graphics quality. Make sure multi-threaded rendering is set to on. Material and texture quality set to medium. Detail quality you can set to low. UI quality set to low. The vignetta we can turn off. VSync turn off. Anti-aliasing we want to switch to none. Anisotropic filtering we can either set to 2 or 4 times. I'm going to keep mine at 4. Make sure improve clarity is switched off. Bloom needs to be turned off, and also distortion for the best results. And that's about it guys. So if you followed along all of these steps, that's given you both the best hotkeys and settings for Valorant, just like the pro players are using right now. If this video did help you, please drop a like and subscribe. Until next time.